Alright everybody, this is the 49 Trader on the 49 Trade Station again, and here we are to talk about Fibonacci numbers, the sequence, and their uses in trading. I mean, we're going to try and make it as simple as we can, even though it can be a pretty complicated subject. Anyways, Leonardo de Pisa, or Leonardo Fibonacci as we know him as, he's the one who's accredited or known for bringing it to the Western kind of culture, this sequence, because I guess there is some references of some Indian scholars and I think some African scholars as well, and I think it came from, there was mentions of it across the world and many different uses. For I think the Indian scholars were actually using it to analyze and mathematically analyze poems and poem structure, in the, I think, 4th century AD or 3rd century AD, something like that. And anyways, the sequence basically people kind of have some arguments over whether it starts at 0, this one, or this one, but either way, 0 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3, and so on the sequence goes endlessly, infinity, literally. As you can see, 5 plus 8 equals 13. 8 and 13 would be 21. It'd be here, and it just keeps going. And then the craziest part about the sequence is, early on, this wouldn't work, but as the ratio, or as the sequence, carries on, there is a ratio between these two added numbers, or not the added numbers, but if you put a ratio between each number in the equation, they get ever closer to this golden ratio, or the divine ratio, as some people might know it as. And basically the Fibonacci sequence is, it's really, it carries into many factors of our life. Mathematics, biology, and of course trading. But it goes a lot further than that too. It's really quite amazing. But that's all we're going to mention here. We could go on for hours, literally for hours, about this number and its relevance to society and everything. But is what we're concerned about today are their percentages in trading and in trends and how that applies to us. But I find it really interesting that Indian scholars were using it, thousands of years ago, literally, to analyze, the creativity in poems. That's just, fascinating to me. And then, now today, we're seeing its patterns in, all over, our charts, but trees, our fingers, our DNA. I think they're even attributing it to modern infrastructure is, and the way we're designing cities is becoming more in tune with this divine ratio. And but either way, the percentages traders are concerned with are 0, 50, and 100% have nothing to do with this ratio. But the numbers 23.6, 38.2, 61.8, 78.86 all do. And the way you get these numbers is 5 divided by 8 is basically, I don't know what 5 by 8, I can't do it off the top of my head, but 1 over 2 is 50. 2 over 3 is 66.6, right? Percent. And that it's supposed to get ever closer to the 61.8. So, 1 over 2 is 50. That's 11.8% away from what it's supposed to be. And then 2 over 3 is 66.6. So what's that? 4.8 away from this. So it literally it halved itself away. It went above, so it went from 50% being 11.8 below to 4.8 above. It's a greater than 50% increase, closer to that number. So that's really fascinating as well, that each jump is getting that much closer. I'm sure as you go down the line it gets a little further away. But either way, let's jump down onto some charts and see how this is relative to us. Alright, so I just took a couple minutes here and I drew up 3 examples. Honestly, really quick. I just typed in, Ford, I don't know. I don't know why I typed in Ford. That one just came to my head. And then these two, literally I just found them. But I have 3 examples, and they're actually 3 kind of different uses that I've found for them. But let's check this one out. So let me see if I can zoom out. I'm going to a 1 day, 1 year chart, but let's go to the 3 day. Yeah, that's what I did this at. So you can see this was the low, this was the high. I can drive these really quick just by left clicking, and then you go to your add a drawing and click the percentage. They give you actually a bunch of different options here. You go Fibonacci retracements, Fibonacci extensions, Fibonacci time series, time ratios, time extensions, arcs, fans, and spiral. I think that's it. Yeah. But either way, so you can click the percentage, and basically whatever point you start at, you left click at, that's your starting point. And you can go this way and get numbers, or you can go this way, you go up or down. I mean, it's really quite amazing. And you can put it in your settings, so you may notice that this point doesn't have a, this would be a 0 or 100%, and this would be a 0 or 100%. I think since I started up here, this would actually be 0, and this might be like a negative 100% or something. But either way, you can see that on this chart, they're here. This would be my 0, and this would be my 100, but it's not on this chart. That's because I'm in the settings. I just take that out because honestly, that's not really what we're here to look for, that mark anyways, unless you're looking into the future or you're looking at something in the past and you're trying to correlate that to the future. Well, I'm just going to remove this so we can carry on. But either way, you can see, carrying on, that this is kind of tough because we're looking into the past, right? So I'm drawing up 3 examples. This is to show you as the trend is moving that it followed these Fibonacci retracements, that it hit this and it came down, right? So it bounced off of this first was at 23.8%, and then it came down, right? And it kind of recovered. So I mean, that could tell you something there in the moment, or I mean, we're looking at a 3-day chart, so it's kind of tough. You could see a pretty hard week, and then it didn't make it back down to its low that it had. I mean, I guess this is 3 days, probably would have been like 3 weeks ago. That maybe this thing still had some juice in it, and then some slow growth, and then it bypassed this line and kind of gassed up to me, and then it kind of recovered, but it didn't come back down to this line, so she still had more juice. Blasted through it again, and then rode that trend, right? This is the trend line that it draws for you too when you draw it, and as you can see, it kind of followed the trend here, and here it's following the same trend. It's obviously off of it, but it's following, seems pretty parallel to me, and then but it's just quite amazing to me that it comes up and almost just hits quite perfectly right on my mark. And as you can see, I drew it into the future. Maybe that end mark actually should have been right in here following the trend perfectly, because, I've hit it probably on like a green candle, beyond it a little bit, almost more like hitting, this candle or something. But anyways, let's go to another example. This one was just to kind of show you how it followed it, but let's go to some examples of like how to use it in trading maybe. This one should be, I don't even know what this company is. Precision Biosciences Incorporated Com. And is this present? Yeah, this is the 1 year, 1 day chart. And this is actually present time. And you can see that I drew the line. And there's no 0 mark here. So this would be your 0. And this is your 23.8. And this is your 100, right? So I drew my low here to my high. And so it bounced off of this second line, dipped below, and man, she just blasted right through all of those. And then came back and bounced off, I think that's the 50 mark. Yeah, it looks like the 50 mark to me. See, that's why the Fibonacci retracement has the 50 and the 100 and the 0 included. It's not in the sequence, but it does end up being a very important one for us traders. And as you can see now, look, this is on a day chart. We're almost a year in the future, and it's still, it's still respecting these boundaries that are laid out from, a trend almost a year in the past. You know what I mean? That's mind-boggling to me that you can use, the trends from a year ago to kind of, try and gauge what. It's just so easy how it draws the lines for you too. It's like if you want to try and draw trend lines from the past or whatever, but it's just a lot simpler to try and just draw the retracements, and then, you know, I mean, they just use them as rough guides. So let's go to another example that I had. So this one is looking to the future from the past, and it was looking at an uptrend. And this one was an uptrend in the present, and now let's look at a downtrend in the past, because you can use those as well. So we are on the, I think, 5-year week chart. So I mean, this is like 2.5 years ago almost that we had this high, and so right here she had some down pressure, but it only made it right around to the middle for had a reversal. And you got to remember, this is a week chart, so these candles might be kind of getting a little, you know, little kind of weird on us. If we had a daily chart, or, you know, even a 3-day chart, it might look a little different. But so it bounced off of the half mark, and I mean that would tell me that it still has a lot of buying pressure. I mean, because it didn't make it to this one. I don't know. That's a tougher one, but looking at these marks too, I guess, you know, it's making higher lows, and then it came back up, but it didn't make a higher high. So it's kind of funny when you're looking at these retracements. You really got to look at, you know, use all your tools in your toolbox. You know what I mean? You look at your higher highs and your diversion conversions and your everything. But I really do like using these ones because it's so quick and easy to slap them in there. And it's crazy how, I mean, we're looking at a 5-year chart. So 2.5 years ago, you know, I mean, we're still respecting these little boundaries. It looks like, you know, we might be breaking out of something here, either for a downtrend or an uptrend, but we'll see. Either way, these are the couple examples I wanted to draw up for you guys. And honestly, like I said, I just drew them up real quick, so I'm sure you guys wouldn't have any issues finding some uses of your own.